When I was a kid playing Pokemon FireRed, I realized that the best rewards were never on the main path. They were hidden in random houses, routes, and by random NPCs. You essentially found them by going off path. And I think that's exactly what many of us have forgotten in the modern age. If I wanted Articuno to show off to my friends, I would have to traverse the Seafoam Islands and figure out the puzzle all by myself. And if I'm honest, when I look back at those Generation 3 days, it was about a certain feeling. And I think at some point, we traded that feeling for something else. It really wasn't about Pokemon. It was about the feeling of exploration. Pokemon just happened to be the perfect vessel. Back then, boredom in game wasn't something that made us stop playing. If you wanted to get through the Elite Four, you'd have to grind, even though it was not fun. But it also provided a space to try something, like different grinding locations, as well as a space to wander and to experiment. Somewhere along the way, that space got filled, with work, with responsibility, with consumption. And the insidious part is that it didn't just happen overnight. It slowly took over our brains, so we didn't really notice it coming. Brain rot was crowned Oxford Word of the Year in 2024. And according to this, brain rot is defined as the supposed deterioration of a person's mental or intellectual state, especially viewed as the result of overconsumption of material, now particularly online content. What that means in plain English is that we've trained our brains to expect instant stimulation, infinite novelty, with zero effort. And when that becomes your baseline, anything slower starts to feel wrong. Reading feels slow, building something feels slow, even thinking deeply feels slow and unsatisfying. Because they don't spike you the same way as quick dopamine does. Here's something most people miss. Your brain doesn't like removal. It likes replacement. If you just straight up try to quit scrolling, you create a void. And your brain doesn't like these voids. That's why people relapse. And that's why your screen time creeps back. It's so popular these days to say that the real problem is your phone. But I would like to argue it's that we stopped replacing boredom with exploration. Because if we look back to Pokemon FireRed again, it never rewarded us being passive. You can't catch Moltres if you never go to the Sevi Islands. If you want TM29 Psychic for your newly caught Ghastly, and yes, that is actually a super overpowered move you can do, you have to actually find the right house in Saffron City. The game quietly teaches you something. Optional effort creates meaningful reward. The legendary birds aren't on the main storyline, they are off path. Real life works the same way. The interesting version of you that's actually fun to talk to at social gatherings isn't built on the main path. It's built in the optional quests, where you actually have the ability to talk about stuff like this random adventure that happened on your motorcycle riding through your local forest, and stopping to listen to the Eterna forest theme because you're so moved by the beauty of nature you just experienced. And let me actually tell you what this transformation looked like for me. There was a period in my life, I think 5 years ago, during the lockdown, where every small gap in the day, it went exactly the same way. When I was waiting for something, I would take out the phone. When I was tired, if I were tired after work, I would take out the phone. If I was bored for 5 minutes, I'd also take out the phone. And I told myself it was just to chill out for a bit. I was just gonna watch some YouTube for like 15 minutes. But honestly, I never really felt restored after that. I felt slightly more foggy. I felt more restless. I felt less motivated to do anything hard. And the dangerous part wasn't that I was wasting the hours. It was that I stopped initiating anything that was optional. Anything that could actually spark my own curiosity, grow my skills. Yeah, I didn't have any projects. I wasn't really experimenting at the time. I was just pouring in time into Call of Duty Warzone and being on my phone. Then I started moving into the main path of my life at the time, which was really just a lot of work and going to the gym. And that was super predictable. It was quite safe for me, honestly. And it was really dull because that was really everything I had at the point. I didn't really explore much. And I realized that I held on to my ambition really, really tightly. I really wanted to succeed with the work I was doing at the time. And I wanted to get really strong and grow an aesthetic body at the gym. The thing is, I had lost all the valuable side quests that I had earlier in my life. The things that added fun, creativity, and adventure to my life. So I decided to make a change. Because I think the best side quests you can do in real life, they are hobbies, and the reason they are so good for you is that they do 3 things. Number 1, they detach you from passive consumption. Number 2, they demand a small amount of effort. And number 3, they create a slow but earned reward. That combination recalibrates your brain. And instead of junk dopamine, you actually get earned dopamine, which is so much more healthy for your brain. And instead of being there passively just consuming, you actually take action and you create something for yourself. And here's the key thing before we get into which hobby you should have a look at. You don't need to complete a life overhaul. You just need to run a 2 to 4 week experiment. Think about it. You can literally replace scrolling with a guitar practice, a gym session, with reading 1 chapter, with walking somewhere new. The list is really endless. And I've recently taken up jump rope again. And oh my, it's become my favorite form of cardio. I really love it. It's so efficient. I can just go outside of my apartment and jump with a weighted rope for 10 minutes and I'm really beat. I got a really good cardio session in. And yesterday I said yes to join a friend for a board game event. This guy I've only met once before, yet he reached out and granted me a super fun side quest, which way I was open to, and I'm probably gonna go back there again. It was really, really fun. So the point here isn't just to be more productive, it's to restore your curiosity reflex and free yourself from the change of technology. So let's zoom out for a bit, because one important thing is actually choosing a hobby that actually fits you. A lot of people struggle with direction. They ask themselves, which hobby should I pick? Which is almost impossible to answer the first time you think about it. The better question, I'd say, is to ask yourself, what kind of energy do I need more of in my life? And here's how I think about it. There are 4 directions you can explore, and we're gonna go through them in order. And I'm gonna give you examples of some hobbies you can actually try, so you have something you can do right after watching this video. I think the first direction you can go is the creative direction. This is about making something. And there's so many things you can do here. You can do writing, you can do music, you can do photography, design, cooking, anything that turns imagination into something real. From my own life, I picked up the guitar when I was 13, and I practiced for like 4 hours a day. It was my favorite thing to do in the world. And I actually did make a mistake with the hobby that I tried to turn it into a business, to teach it at some point, so I lost a bit of passion for it. I still play occasionally, but it's just a really nice way of expressing yourself, especially if you're shy and you start playing with people. It can be a nice way to meet people. Then photography is something I've also made money with, and it was a hobby during lockdown, which is probably my one thing that got me out of the house and got me also meeting people and taking portraits of people. It was super, super fun. I did a project where I was taking a photo every day for a year and posted to my Instagram, and that really turned into a small business from doing that because people were reaching out and saying that they wanted to work with me. So, and I want to emphasize, this is not about building a business. I want you to pick up a hobby with the intention of not actually making money with it, because that kind of turns it into work instead of just pure fun. And this is about detaching from technology and just exploring the fun side of yourself and your sense of adventure. So please, just pick something you think sounds fun if you want to go the creative route, not to make money. The next one is that if you currently feel overstimulated but underexpressed, I'd actually recommend you picking up an intellectual hobby. It can be learning something just because you think it's interesting. Like I picked up the basics of learning Python, coding in Python, because I just thought it would be really cool to learn to code, and yeah, potentially it is a really useful work skill. So there was also something in regards to that, but that's something you can do. You can also learn about history and philosophy, and pick up a language, or any topic that you've been curious about but you never pursued. I read a book last year called Sapiens, which is really about the history of mankind. It was so exciting. I've really never been into history much before, but I allowed myself to tap into that part of my curiosity that said, you know, I would actually love to learn more about history. So if you feel something calling out to you here in this lane, I'd recommend you look into it. And then for the next lane of habits, these are for you if you feel mentally foggy or a bit passive at this moment, because these are going to activate your body and get you to take some action. So these are the physical/well-being habits. The obvious one you've heard me talk about a lot is the gym. I go to the gym right now 3 times a week on average. I've done more in the past, I've done less, but I've been consistent with it for many, many years at this point. I think since I was 20 years old. I've been loving to go work out. I just feel so good after, and honestly, it's a great benefit when people compliment you on the fact that you've grown and you look nice, you got a nice physique and all this stuff. That's a nice side benefit. That's not why I train. I train for my own mental state and my own health, but yeah, it is pretty cool when people, they acknowledge that you've been working hard, you look nice. Then there's martial arts, which I also did for 10 years. I did karate, which was also super fun. It's a great way if you're not disciplined at the moment. That will really install a lot of discipline into you if you pick up a martial art. I'd highly recommend it. You can also do things like running, climbing, dancing. I've done all of these before in different intensities, or just something that reconnects you to your body, whatever that is. You can really do anything physical here. If you really feel that you're in a slump mentally and you just struggle with low energy, I'd recommend you looking towards these physical habits. Then I do have the last pillar of habits that I want to talk about, which is if you feel a bit restless or you feel you're craving some connection with people, then I'd recommend you look to some kind of social events or just going out with friends to do something. It can be something like a book club or maybe a board game night, like I just mentioned. Honestly, it's the first time I've went to one of these and it was super chill. I would actually highly recommend that if you're struggling with connecting to other people. Just try to go there, play a game with them, and try to connect over the game, and then you can transition into something personal. Yet there's also things like weekly dinners or just training something with a friend. It kind of ties into the other habit or the other hobbies we just talked about with climbing and gym and martial arts. Basically here you want to do any recurring ritual with real humans where you can have a real conversation with them to actually talk about your life and learn about their life. You can get so many insights that can help you get unstuck in your head and help that feeling of restlessness. So if you currently feel isolated, this is going to help you a lot. Now, we've talked about a lot of hobbies here. Before you pick one, here's the 3 filters I want you to run through before you pick one. Number 1, don't pick the hobby that sounds impressive to other people. Pick one that's inherently interesting to you. And number 2, don't pick the one that you can turn into a side hustle. If you do that, you are likely to lose the fun aspect of actually just exploring the hobby. That's not the point of this video. I'd rather have you watch a video about starting your own side hustle and picking something there, if that's the goal. This is not the goal with this, what we're talking about here. It's just to explore, to have fun, to rekindle that sense of adventure. So please, I know I'd said that I've explored with turning guitar and photography into a business, but that was not the goal when I started playing guitar, for example. That was just to have fun. And that's when it gave me all the benefits we've talked about in this video. Also, don't pick the one that looks good on Instagram stories and Instagram reels. Again, pick the one that makes you feel genuine curiosity, and then run it as an experiment for 2 to 4 weeks and just explore it. You don't need a master plan for exactly how to execute the hobby. Just start looking into it and start trying things within that hobby, and then you'll figure things out along the way. What you should start to feel is that it adds this new fun dimension to your life that you want to share with other people, and that will slowly integrate into who you are as a person as you keep exploring either it or you try new hobbies. I mean, I have decided this year that every single month I will try out a new hobby, or it can be like an old hobby I've tried before but have kind of forgotten about. So I have 12 different fun things I will do in this year. Yeah, I'm looking really forward to it. I'm considering maybe doing like some winter bathing / sauna. I haven't quite decided yet, but this month has really just been getting back into guitar and also the board game night that I just mentioned earlier in the video. When you do this, fast dopamine will start to loosen its grip and you'll feel more of that channel-like energy again. Because I want us to remember that FireRed taught us something most of us forgot. That the best rewards, they aren't on the main path, they are hidden. But you actually have to choose which side quests you want to explore. And if you're currently in a state where you feel a lot of brain rot, you're in the majority these days. But please do yourself the favor of tapping into your curiosity and start to explore again. I promise you that it's gonna change your life. So here's the question I'm gonna leave you with. Are you playing the game of life to its fullest, or are you just scrolling through it? If this resonated with you, feel free to send me a DM on Instagram if you want to talk more about this. I'm currently in the process of helping neurodivergent men identify and remove the one thing that's holding them back in life. So if that sounds like something for you, give me a follow. Then I'm gonna reach out to you and give you some advice specific to your situation. I really want to build this community into something that actually has a positive impact. So I appreciate all you guys commenting and also DMing me so I can get insights on how I can better help you. I'm so grateful for you being here, and I hope to see you in the next video as well.